Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and that cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
Bradley, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you now. I'm looking forward to diving into your music for the next bit. So you recently released We Dug a Ditch and Lay Down. What can you tell us about it?
So that's the first song off of our new album that comes out in December. We have two more singles that were released in October and November leading up to the release. We Dug a Ditch, wrote it about a year ago. Actually, I was on TikTok just messing around and then like had this riff idea and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And I actually have it on video of me like coming up with the song essentially. So I kind of like that. But yeah, it's kind of a dark song. It's definitely 90s inspired. A little bit of Smashing Pumpkins in there for sure. We're happy with it. We linked up with a engineer named Corey Bergeron in Toronto, who just totally brought us to a new level. Like we recorded all of our own stuff. Just it's hard to mix your own stuff. It never sounds exactly right because your ear is just not, it's a little biased or whatever. But no, like Corey's amazing. We finally found a great engineer to work with, and he's doing our whole album. So I'm really excited. So I think he totally crushed We Dug a Ditch. So.
Right. There is a story I've heard now about you lay down in an actual ditch, and that's where the inspiration comes from.
Yeah, so I'm a master plumber, so I did a lot of ditch digging and stuff. And there was one time where we had a really deep ditch. It was like 14 feet deep, and I just always wondered like what it would be like to like lay down there. You're down in there. It's when you're down and working in the hole, it's like really kind of creepy and quiet and weird. But I would, I really wanted to lay down there. Something like possessed me. I was like, I gotta go lay in this thing. And it's so weird to be that deep in the earth and then look up and you see the sky, but you can't really hear anything. It's very quiet. And it just it's extremely peaceful and like serene to just sit there and realize you are just dirt, like there's nothing special. It's like it's kind of calm, and I thought it was peaceful. But I thought it was a unique experience because a lot of people don't lay in ditches or even dig ditches, so it's a rare thing that a lot of people haven't experienced, to be underground like that. So I wrote about it, and that's why we got the song.
Right. If I ever come across a big hole now, I'll have to give it a go and see if it's as peaceful as you say.
I don't condone that unless it's there. You have shoring and it's actually safe to do that. But yeah.
Yeah. And you guys have a pretty interesting story about how you came together. It started like 9 years ago. You started putting an album together and you finished it in 2022. Am I right?
Yeah, so it was 2011. I had just released an album a year before that, and I was coming up with I had basically an entire album written, and I just kind of stopped. And I had a little baby, or a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. I had little babies, and they needed me, and they needed, I had to focus on my career and focus on my family, and like music had become just a big distraction for me, from all the people that were depending on me. So I literally just hung it up for a decade. And just stopped like halfway through the album. And then oddly enough, last year I sold my company. I had a plumbing company, and we had somebody come through and buy it. And I found myself without a job and anything to do. And now my kids are teenagers and they don't want to hang out with me as much as they used to. And, my wife's busy. So like, I just had a lot of time on my hands, and I just started playing again. So I got the old album out and started working through all this old stuff. And it's amazing how much technology changed too in a decade, because it was massively evolving, in the 2000s when I was really into it. And then now it's just leaps and bounds ahead, with what you can do. So yeah, it's just kind of been like a rebirthing for me for getting back into music and rediscovering my passions and things like that. So
And how does it compare, approaching the music? You're a decade older, you've had more life experiences, you're
yeah.
trying to work on songs that you started when you were 10 years younger. What's that kind of like?
So I used to be called Inverso. That was my artist name or whatever. But I'm like, I'm not Inverso anymore. Like, I'm not the person that wrote this album. So I had a lot of new songs come up. About that time, and so I was writing new stuff, and then I pulled some of the old stuff and put out an album last October. So it's kind of a compilation of the past and the present. But yeah, way more to write about now. Going through your 30s and having a family and a career and all that stuff. Yeah, there's plenty to write about. But I definitely see music differently than I used to when I was a little younger. I don't really see it as a career, like I have to make money doing it and stuff. For me, it's really just a passion thing. I don't think that you have to make a career out of it to enjoy it. Everybody can do this, and everybody can have fun with it. So it doesn't have, you don't have to monetize it necessarily, if that doesn't seem to work for us. So
Yeah.
And we love playing cover songs and stuff like that, but I don't want to go out and just be a cover band and play, and try to make $200. And, I don't care. Like, I just want to make good art. I want to make, I want to make songs. I'm a songwriter first, for sure. So.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned there a few minutes ago how much the industry had changed. What was that kind of like, because now it's more so focused on releasing singles instead of albums and stuff like that.
I think that's kind of nice, actually. I like just releasing one song at a time, and I'm a very one-track minded person anyway, so that sounds good to me. Now we are releasing an album in December, but it's just because we have so much material. Like, we've got to get these songs out there, or they'll never. We have way more in the pipeline. So I'm like, we just put out an album last year. We already have another one this year. We're just going to release singles all year next year. But I've got so much stuff recorded, and we've got some cool covers and stuff that we've done. And so for Halloween this year, we are playing a cover show as the Deftones. However, we're all dressing up as Elvis, but we're going to play Deftones songs.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good night. So we did it last year too. We were all like Batman villains. So I was the Joker, and like our drummer was Two-Face, and yeah. So
sounds good.
it's a good time. I love playing covers on Halloween. It's a great time to do it, So
yeah, definitely. And when it comes to making new music, is there a part you look forward to most?
When it's done, yeah, for sure. I mean, like writing the riffs and drumming and coming up with beats is all the fun stuff, and then when it comes down to getting the lyrics down, that's when it's like, okay, this feels like a job now, because it's so much harder to write lyrics than it is to do anything else for me. So I just try to listen instead of me telling the song what it's going to be. I just listen over and over again and take my time with it, and just try to pull it out of the sky, like whatever this song is supposed to be. And sometimes, usually halfway through writing the lyrics, I'm like, oh, this is what this is about. Like, I don't set out with this is what I'm going to write about this subject. It's like the subject kind of comes to you, and then you just finish the thought pretty much. For me, that's how it's worked for me. But
I like it. And is there any specific themes or messages that you try to convey through your music nowadays?
I've always been really into aliens, really into aliens and ufology. So I've always written about aliens and experiences with making contact and things like that. It's just always intrigued me. My last album or last couple albums were about those too. I don't really write a lot of love songs. I did write one song about my wife on the last record. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We have a song called "Be Kind, Rewind," and it's kind of funny because Adam, our guitar player, wrote he just wrote like a riff for it,
Mm.
and he titled it "Be Kind, Rewind" because that's what he was looking at, and you have to put a title on something before send a file. So I just every time he sends me a little idea, I always end up I just stick with that title and I write using that title as inspiration. So we have this song called "Be Kind and Rewind." It's really cool, and it's just about nostalgia. It's about like longing for the past and remembering the '90s and how much better everything seemed, and simpler life seemed, than it is now. So there's that kind of feeling. So I thought, it's weird how those things kind of evolve, but
Yeah, yeah. I have to mention now, not to get into conspiracies or go totally into the aliens, but you must have been pretty excited then about the disclosure that happened, and I
I
suppose
watched it
that must
live.
have.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
watched the whole thing. I watched the whole thing live. Yeah, it was great.
Ah,
I thought it was a big step forward. So we'll see.
mm,
I've always thought that aliens were already here and they're just covering it up, but it's like until you give people definitive proof, and an alien actually walks out with the president, you're not really, going to get people on board. So
yeah, yeah. I have to say, I was a little surprised how nobody seemed to react. Like, especially over here in Europe, like it
yeah.
wasn't even on the news.
Well,
It's
I think
crazy.
people are just desensitized to anything now, like, we have school shootings here like crazy, and it's you just get tired of hearing the same thing over again. It's like it's hard to care about it when it happens every week,
Yeah.
or as often as it does. It's yeah, and you don't want to be like that. You want to be sensitive to those things, but you just get numb from hearing
Yeah.
these things. I feel like a lot of people are like that. The average attention span's like 3 seconds now. You're flipping through TikTok, and
Hmm.
if you can't get someone's attention in 3 seconds, it's over. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. We've been conditioned to be that way. So I guess I'm not that surprised that people are like, cool, aliens, and then scroll. What's next?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I suppose at this stage, then we'll dive into your past when it comes to music to see where you came from. Now,
Sure.
it's a bit of a tough question, but can you remember your earliest musical memory?
Well, I don't know about musical memory. I've got some probably really embarrassing ones from the '80s. Dancing to Vanilla Ice and stuff. But as far as like first time playing, it was my 14th birthday, and a couple of my friends brought over one guy brought a bass and an amp, and one guy brought over like a kick, a snare, and a hi hat. And I'd never even like seen anybody like play. They were
Mm.
playing in my living room, and it was good. They were playing Green Day songs and stuff like that. And I was like, "Give me that bass! Like, I have to know how you're doing this." And like, I was instantly hooked. So like, I mean, the next day I had like my dad's right-handed crappy guitar that he put in a closet and never touched for like 30 years. I had that out trying to sit there, watch MTV and trying to learn how to play Green Day songs upside down. I'm left-handed, so I actually learned how to play right-handed guitar. So I learned upside down first.
Oh man.
And then like a year later, I saved up and got an electric guitar, and I got a left-handed. So then I had to learn left-handed. Then I
Mm.
like flipped. So it's weird even to this day. Like I pick up someone's right-handed guitar and I can still play it. Like I can still play all the chords, and like it's weird. It's like reading upside down, but it just works, and I don't really think about it. So strange.
Jeez. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that is strange. All right. A lot of people
yeah,
find it hard enough to play the right way around, let alone backwards.
I think it helped me in some ways. And like I'm a lefty drummer, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I should learn how to play right, because every time I go to a club and they're like, hey, can you jump up? It's always a right-handed kit, and I'm like, well, if you can move the tom over there and the snare over there, and like I'll play. But I can't. Like it's now trying to go backwards. It's so hard. If it just feels like I've never played in my life. When you try to play right-handed. So I don't know. It might be too late for me on that one, but
Yeah. And we have to mention concerts. So as a concert goer, what concerts would you say have made you?
Oh, have made me. Man. I saw Silverchair at the Newport in Columbus when I was in high school. I loved that. I was it was right after the 2000 the year 2000 anthem for year 2000 came out, and the Neon Ballroom album.
Hmm.
So like that was a huge experience for me. I saw Scott Weiland on his solo tour there. Um,
Oh,
after the Stone Temple Pilots had broken up, and it was just him, and they had this weird album called 12 Bar Blues out, and I still love that album to death. But it's not good, you know what I mean? But it's good to me
hmm.
because it's just it's good memories, and I love
Yeah.
those songs. It didn't matter how bad they were. I loved them anyway. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get you. I get you. And like when with a concert, then what needs to happen for it to be for you to walk away thinking, I'm going to remember that for a very long time?
Like a concert that I've gone to.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I guess it could be anything. The most recent concert I went to was Paramore with my daughter, and I'll never forget that because that was a huge deal to her. Like,
Hmm.
I like Paramore, but I wasn't like a huge fan, but it didn't matter because it was like a memory that we'll never forget. Like going to that together, just the two of us, and
Hmm.
so I don't know. In that way, I would never forget that experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I like it. And, I'm looking forward to hearing about this now. Your own shows. For anyone that hasn't caught one of your shows, what are they like? Lay it all out first.
um, I don't know. I'd say not stellar yet. I think we're getting pretty good, but I don't know. I still think we're growing as a live musicians. Our drummer has probably the most live experience out of all of us, so he's kind of like guiding that experience for us. But I was always a studio guy. I'm way more into recording, and going to a show now, and we're all in our 40s, is a lot harder because the next day I'm like, I need a recovery day. Um, you know, it's like football. Like if you play football, like you can be in really, really great shape, but until you play football, you're not in football shape. You
Hmm.
know, it's like going on tour or like playing a show. Like you got to be in like show shape, you know,
Yeah.
um, to like bounce back and be able to do it over and over again. So, going out and playing live is kind of hard for all of us. Like that's why we only play like twice a month. You know,
Hmm.
it's usually on the weekend, and you know, it's just hard to get out. So we've been looking at doing live streams. I started live streaming on TikTok, like live performances, and right now I'm in the process of building a studio and live room in my backyard. So we have this like giant pole barn that we're converting to a studio, and we're going to do a lot more live streaming because I feel like we can reach a lot of people online with YouTube,
Hmm.
and TikTok and some of these. So we're really putting a lot of focus in that. Plus, everything's already set up. We go back out there, we can play any time of day, or night, and not bother anybody. But we don't have to tear all the drums down and all the mics and then like pack everything up and go home and go to
Hmm.
a bar. I don't even really like being in bars, to be honest with you. Like I'm not really a drinker, and like I don't really like being out late. So like we're kind of like really looking at this as like a main way for us to get new fans and do this. So we're gonna start streaming regularly once we get the building finished.
Hmm.
It'll be like a weekly thing where we stream for a couple hours and interact with fans directly online. And I think it's a good platform for us.
Yeah. Geez, that's actually really thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was a business owner, right? I've got to like think outside the box. Um,
True.
Same thing with like, when I got my bandmates, I did all the recruiting for our company. So I've like hired and fired like thousands of people. So
Hmm.
like I really know what to look for and the right qualities for the right people to make something work. So I hand selected my players, and these are all amazing people. They're very organized and like put together. They don't have any drama, they're pro players. We write well together, we hang out well together. So like we have the perfect group of guys right now.
Hmm.
But I feel like I got to pat myself on the back there because it really comes down to recruiting skills, like, and we went through like 10 auditions for drummers.
Hmm.
and I was very picky. I'm a drummer too, so I was very picky about drummers. Like it has to be someone who can bring us to life on stage, you know. And we got that. We got Tom Chakra. He's unreal. So
Hmm.
it just makes everybody better, right? You're only as good as your drummer, right? That's what they
True.
say. Yeah.
True. And funny enough, drummers always seem to be the hardest people to find.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I we definitely got him. And he's awesome. And just amazing people. Like they would do anything for you, you know, and they're very reliable. And that, you know, that matters a lot.
Hmm.
So um
Yeah. And back to your shows then, and even the live streams, I suppose. How do you work on them? When you're rehearsing, do you approach it like you're fully live? Do you put the same energy in?
I absolutely, yeah. And I mean we still have people over and stuff when we're gonna do these live streams. We're still gonna invite people over and have it's almost like a little private party, you know.
Hmm.
Um uh, but it's cheaper, right? You know. Um, you know, we'll still have good energy, and we're gonna have a professional stage with professional lighting and sound and everything like that. So it's you know we're going all out on it. We'll have multiple camera angles. We're going big with the
Uh,
live streams. But yeah, like I'm always frustrated when I go out and play live because like unless you have your own engineer, you know, it's hard to get that your sound locked in exactly at every venue, and like a lot of a lot of house engineers don't care. You know, they don't really care if you can hear yourself or not, and um, you know, so I don't know. It's fun to play larger shows. It's not so fun to do the bar scene for me.
mhm.
The little shows, because you know I'm just too old for that. You know, I think, but
You're
you know,
never too old, really.
not too old to do it, but it definitely you know feels different
Yeah.
being 41 than it did when I was 20. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I get you. I get you. And is there a performance from your past that maybe sticks in your mind as the most memorable or the most perfect?
as so far as a band, I'd say we played a gig at Fenders in April, and I thought we just murdered. You know, it's like one of those where you just, I mean, it already sounds that venue just sounds good. They have good equipment. Like, we had a nice sound check, and then you get up there and we just killed it. And you can just tell like the crowd's really into it, and you know, great energy, great lighting. You know, and you just leave feeling like, oh man, I just crushed. You know, and that doesn't happen every time. You know, a lot of times like you know you have little things can bother me, and I just don't you know enjoy it as much. You know, if I can't hear something or I start focusing on that, and because I'm so one track minded, I can't like just let it go. You know, and
Mm.
like so yeah, anytime like we sound good on stage, like I'm having fun. You know, jumping around having a good time. So
Right, right. And I always say you have to have the good with the bad. So without mentioning names now, and you can use any gig from your entire career, is there one that maybe you consider the worst experience and how did you deal with it?
um the worst. I don't know if I can say what the worst is. Definitely had some bad ones. I mean, we had one recently where we broke all our stuff down, got over to the venue, and they were like, "Yeah, the show's canceled." And we're like, "What do you mean?"
Oh man.
And they didn't tell us that like the headliner had canceled, so they just
Oh,
canceled the whole night. And we had already packed all of our stuff up, already drove down there, and we're like, "Yeah, that's not cool, man." Like, we you know rehearsed our butts for that gig, just on there and not and have it not happen. So but we ended up like we reverted and just went over to an open mic and showed up and they let us play our whole set at this open mic and it was all
oh,
these people that never heard us. So it was like we're still tonight. I don't care. We're gonna go play. So that. But yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff I just don't like about the small gigs. Like bad things like that can happen and
hmm.
ruin your night. And I'm like, I don't like that. But
Yeah, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And when it comes to showtime, then, do you have a pre-show and post-show ritual? How do you psych yourself up and get in the zone?
Yeah. I definitely still have nerves, especially if I know there's gonna be a lot of people there. And I can't drink. I don't think any of us drink. Maybe Tom can drink, but none of us have a beer before we play. It just can't.
Hmm.
You know, it's for me. I don't know. It just like me off so bad. So like, there's no drinking involved. We might have like a celebratory beer after or something, but and I'm really with my voice, like I'll do a certain amount of warm-ups in the morning, and then do some warm-ups before we go on. So I have like these little rituals that I do, like 15 rituals for that. You know, with the voice, it's so weird. Like a guitar where, you know, you pretty much you're gonna have, you tune it up, and if it does, you got another one right behind you. You know, voice, it's like there's good days and bad days. Some days where I'm like, I know this is gonna suck. You know, like I'm gonna go up there and I'm sound like a frog, and there's only so much you can do about it. So, you know, you just have those days. Even humidity is affected a lot. Like if we have really high humidity, it's like open and I feel better and sound. But if we have a gig in January and it's really dry here, it's tough. You know, I've also had gigs where I was so sick, and then if you know, if I don't better within like 24 hours, gonna have to cancel this. Like you know, and but you know how it is with your voice, like. You feel better when you get sick, but then your voice actually get better for like a couple of days. You know?
Yeah.
It's like the last thing to get better. So for a singer, you go up there, you just have to like just keep warming up, trying to get through it. And so it's a little rough, and you're like, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah.
your best. But
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you know, with your career then, how do you keep yourself motivated and inspired?
I'm a very motivated person. I always have been. Like you know, I'm an early bird. I early and do my stuff, and very organized. So it's easy for me to stay on task, stay on point, and I think that's why we get so much done. You know, why I'm able to release our album every year. Why you know, why we spend so much time on marketing and all this stuff, but we handle it. Like, but yeah, staying inspired. That's trickier. There's times where you're just not, and that's okay. You just have to like you're not going to be constantly inspired. There's nothing wrong with playing video games tonight instead, you know, or read a book or do something else. You don't have to musician 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like you have to take break. And the inspiration will come, and I think the best is to just meditate and listen, especially when writing lyrics and things like that. Like stop trying to tell the paper what to say. Like just open your heart, mind, really just listen, and you'll pull these songs out of the sky. You just will, you know.
Yeah, I like that outlook. Actually, it's a good one. And you know, I'm sure it rarely happens now, but how do you handle criticism or negative feedback?
I don't crumble. No,
Really?
don't say anything mean. Ever. Can't handle it. I'm very fragile. No, like I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I'm too old to care what people think, you know. Like people are like we're just making art. Like, what are you so mad about? Like, you know, if somebody doesn't like a song, okay, well, there's 3 gazillion other songs you can check out. Like, you don't have to like it. I don't care. Like, I do this for me. I think all of our band, they just do it for themselves. It's their release, their time, you know, their creative. So I would do it no matter what. I wouldn't do it if no one listened. I would do it if a lot of people listened. It doesn't hurt. I almost think it's my bowling league. You know, I don't expect people to come and watch bowl, but like I still care about it, and I'm every week. You know, like it's kind of like that for me. So.
Right. And you know, your fans then, how do you focus on building a fan base? Like I know years ago you would have been putting flyers up and, you know, getting people to come to your show or passing out, you know, mixtapes, stuff like that. How do you approach it nowadays?
I think it really just comes down to interacting each and every one of them. It's like if somebody something on one of our media, we talk to them, reach out to them, and you know. It doesn't have to be like a big group you're reaching out to all the time, and sometimes it's just one person, and then that person tells another person. So you really do have to pay attention to each and every fan, especially at the age where you're just building a fan base, you know. So yeah, I'll sit there and message people back and forth, and if they like the music, I'm honored. You know, it's great. Like, you know, you could have listened to anything, and you're listening to me, so I couldn't be more thankful for that. You know. But yeah, one at a time.
Brilliant. And you know, how would you guys like to evolve as a band? What will the band look like in, say, 5 years' time?
It's so funny because I don't think any other band actually thinks about these things, but we actually do. Because I was a business owner. Like, I sent out like a complete newsletter to the band guys, and it actually has a 5-year plan, and like with outlooks, and we track our progress and streams and that. And we set goals, so we're very goal oriented. We have some. We'd like some larger shows. We'd like to increase fan reach, but I mean, we have like short and long-term goals for the band for sure. And when we talk about it, and it's very much a democracy, and it's like, hey, we need an album designed for the like. Does anybody have any ideas? And then we have a text message thread that goes on and on. It's full of memes and goofy stuff too. It keeps us on point, keeps us organized. So, yeah.
Right. I have to ask, how do the guys feel about that now? It seems very kind of corporate almost in a way of running a band.
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't know. I think they being organized, Adam works for JP Morgan, so he's smarter than all of us. A bass player, Jeff, is a geologist, and he works on quakes and patterns and like that. So like everybody already has core jobs. Like they're already kind of like they're the two schedules and organization. I think if we were 20 years old, we'd probably really opposed all that. But you're in your 40s and you have children and you have schedule and soccer practice to get to. Like everybody needs to be on the same page. It almost needs to run like business. Respect everybody's time. So I think it's been good for this group, to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, I'm intrigued to see if I come across any other bands that actually do it that way. And future plans that are set in stone. Then, is there anything you can share with us, or anything coming down the line?
Like I said, we have an album coming out in December. After that, we're just planning on releasing singles the next year. We have some really fun ideas to do. We have the Halloween cover show coming up in October. Those are the short-term things. Long term, we've talked about getting on some regional tours. We linked up with Pavement Entertainment, who have like Puddle of Mud and a couple other Dishwalla, a couple other big bands, Candlebox. And trying to get on their label as a regular. But right now they're promoting A Ditch, and they're probably promote the next 5 or 6 of our songs, and see how that goes. We made a music video, We Dug a Ditch, which we're really proud of. It was really fun. And we have another video scheduled for November for a song called Black and Blue that's coming out. So excited about that. But yeah, we just want to increase our our face, get our Spotify numbers, and see if we can jump on some regional tours. So that's pretty much it.
Brilliant. Sounds good. We'll dive into the last couple of questions. So these are a couple of odd, fun music questions, but I'm intrigued to see your answers. So if you could see any performer from history in concert for one night only, who would it be?
Anyone history? In all of history?
Yeah, even as far back as Beethoven.
Yeah, I guess you got to sit through some Mozart or something. I mean, like if you're going that far back, it's like my favorite band is Chevelle, and it's odd, like it's not really our style necessarily, but I love Chevelle so much, and I've seen them some in concert, and it's just a high energy, hardcore rock show. But it's like, well, I mean, there's no comparison. Like Mozart is like historically famous, like a president is, so it's like, how do you not back then and check that out, right? And like, True. That was about.
Just to experience it once, I suppose.
Yeah. There's some that I, wish I would have seen. Like Elliott Smith was a huge inspiration for me, and I was in college when he died, and I never got to see him live. And you got those kind of things like, man, it's if you could go back, it'd be great to see someone that you literally can't, that inspired you, as a younger person.
Yeah.
But, there's a couple of those. I mean, how cool would it be to go back and just see one more time, or like something like that would have been really special. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Right. The next one is a bit harder. If you had to spend 24 hours locked inside a room with any musician or performer from history, who would it be?
I don't know. I can't get past the idea of being locked somewhere 24 hours. Like I don't think I'm going to be with anyone for 24 hours locked in. I have a little bit of claustrophobia, and I don't think I can mentally get past that. So I don't know.
Okay. And the final one. So what song would appear on the soundtrack to your life?
Whew, man. You got to start emailing these questions before I need 3 days to think about that question. Oh, my goodness. Wow. That's a really good question.
Tough.
I don't know, man. Like Needle in the Hay, Elliott Smith.
Okay. What is it about that speaks to you?
It's, I don't know. It's just so timely and so sad. And if I think about, my life, and yeah, it fits. Like if a movie producer producing my life story, I've got to have Needle in the Hay in there. Yeah.
Right. Has to be that one. So listen, Bradley, it's been an absolute pleasure now. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks a million.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the podcast, conscience that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down, the greatest live shows and the cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concerts that made us.com.